Pod pays.
Wondering if cutting marketing budget during tough times is the right move? In this episode, you'll learn why increasing ad spend during recessions can boost your business, how to communicate this strategy to stakeholders, the importance of data for return on investment, and how to capitalize on reduced competition on this episode of Content on the Go. Hey everyone, I'm Darren Lake, and welcome to Content on the Go, a podcast by Podpaste. Each episode, we answer questions or talk about one specific idea to help you market your business or brand better. And we do that by making them easy to digest, short and concise, because we all have a business to run. Let's go. On this episode, I'm talking to someone that I've worked with very closely, and I'd call it a friend, Mr. David Weinberger. He's a fractional growth marketer and B2B marketing leader with over 10 years experience in the industry. He's worked with companies like Mortgage Choice, Starcome Media Vest Group, and paperForm, and he's an all-around awesome guy. Let's get into it.
I think if you look at some historical data, that the best businesses that experience these downturns often invest more heavily in their ads, and they do this for a couple of reasons. Advertising specifically within the marketing discipline, and they do this for a good reason. So, if the market is down, let's say 12%, what will likely happen is you'll see a bigger reduction in marketing spend across many competitors. So maybe 50%, which leaves a gaping hole for someone to fill with a better share of voice, a good opportunity to push your brand, push your messaging and your value proposition in what is essentially a void of communication. So a good example of this would be Target in I think it was 2009. Whilst they didn't decrease their spend, they actually increased it, which not only led them to a bigger market share in that year, but also they were one of the few, especially large businesses, that came out of that really tumultuous period with better results at the end of it than they did going into it. So there are lots of examples like this where it doesn't necessarily mean just because the market is going down that you should spend less on your advertising.
Yeah, I'd say it's quite emotionally, it's hard to do that. If you're new to your business and this is the first down cycle you've had, emotionally it's easier said than done. And it's like, being in the stock market or whatever market.
That's a really good point, because as you were talking, I was thinking of the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett. He says buy when you buy groceries, do you buy them at full price or do you like to buy them when they're on sale? And he's really referring to the stock market, but the same parallel can be made for marketing, share of voice, share of the market. It's really the same thing.
Yep. So I guess I'll dive a bit deeper into that because I love me some Warren Buffett. He's just the way he invests and does business is so logical and so boring, but he's the best one out there, and everyone wants to hack. And he's like, just buy the businesses that you know. When everyone's running left and selling, you should buy. When everyone's buying, at the top of the market, you should not buy or sell. That's do the exact opposite of the crowd. Easier said than done, again, emotions, and especially when you're, back to small businesses, SMEs, marketers, it's like, oh my God, the world's ending. I might lose all this money. I might lose this client. I might lose these customers. How can I keep spending on all this marketing, stuff? So yeah, do you have a emotional, it's more psychological. Can you be a therapist to some of these business owners?
It's a difficult one because every business finds themselves in really unique circumstances. No two businesses are the same, and the challenges they face are always going to be different. So, whilst it might be easy for Target with huge cash reserves to go out and just pump more money, maybe reduce some of the operating costs, but then, redistribute them into marketing, the same cannot always be said for small businesses who cost per acquisition is high, cash is low, and it's difficult to lend in markets like that. So, borrow in markets like that. So I would say it depends. And I don't want to be, the Gary Vee who comes out and, deals in absolutes like a Sith Lord and says, you got to do this. And if you don't do this, you're the worst and you have no idea what you're doing. So it really does come down to your individual circumstances. So I would always caveat that. And that's what a good marketer always says. It depends.
It depends, yeah. Look, no hate on Gary Vee. I'm a big fan of Gary Vee. I like his, zero F's attitude. But let's go into this kind of third point that we actually haven't talked about to end this, which is increase your share of voice. So, point 1 was navigating down markets. Point 2 was less people are spending on marketing ads. So take advantage of this new space. We talked about the Warren Buffett analogy. If you have the cash, if you have the confidence, believe in yourself. Talk to your accountant first, though, and talk to your investors and your shareholders if you're that type of business. But yeah, number 3, increase share of voice. Tell me a bit more about that.
So for those who aren't familiar with the term share of voice, it really means the percentage of the market in which you are heard by your customers or your audience. So measuring that can take a few different methods. You can look at search trends, you can look at mentions in social media and things like this. But really what it means is how are you tracking against your competitors in terms of who's talking the loudest. Really important. But I would also just deviate a little bit from that and just touch on what we spoke, the original question about retention and possibly a very commonly known bit of marketing trivia, the law of, or the rule of 7. I heard it's
11. It's 20
7,
now, right?
8, 9, 10, 11. It changes. It depends. It depends. So the point is you need to be talking to your customers as frequently as possible. And in a market like this, and I can say this confidently, no matter how far into the future we're looking here, but first party data is going to be really, really important. So when we talk about retention, you got to have all your ducks in a row, all your user data, their personal information, making sure it's all humming, and you've got the tools and the processes to take advantage of that. And that will be a great way for a lot of businesses to navigate a downturn, but also increase their share of voice. If we look at the workhorse of marketing, which is the email marketing, it's one of the least sexy channels outside of just physical mail, but it is immensely important because it gives you access to your customers all the time for free. It ties together a lot of things like brand, comms, content, and it gives you access to people's inbox for very little cost. So a great channel and a great way of making sure that you're focusing on your share of voice and retention, and you can do it that way.
From PodPaste, you've listened to Content on the Go. Again, I'm Darren, and PodPaste hopes you found more insights and tips into your business or brand. If you like what you heard, please share a link with other businesses or marketers if you think they would get something from this. And for a limited time, we are offering 2 special services for people. The first is aimed at businesses that have never done podcasting and want to try it out before committing to a full series. Think Try Before You Buy, where we will edit and repurpose a podcast episode into 10 pieces of content for you for only $95. That's 82% off our normal rate. But if you already have a podcast going, we'd love to edit an episode for free for you or repurpose it into 10 pieces of content to show you what is possible. Either way, sign up at the link in the show notes or YouTube description below to jump on a quick 10-minute discovery call where we can brainstorm ideas or audit your existing podcast and help shape your next series. See you on the next episode.